Hi everyone, this is Mike. I'm finally back to do another portfolio review tutorial, and this one was just a sketch, a really nice zombie sketch that was sort of donated for this video by an artist named Zaid. I'll have a link to his online portfolio in the description. And there were just a few very simple things that I wanted to mention. I'm not even sure if he was doing the sketch specifically for his portfolio or if he colored it digitally. Obviously, it was originally done on paper and then either brought in with a digital camera or scanner. But one little note, if you're going to be doing something specifically for your portfolio, even if it starts on paper and you're going to color it digitally, make sure that that you have a really nice clean scan or photo without fairly severe lighting issues across the paper, just because you want everything on your portfolio to look as clean and professional as possible. So if this is intended specifically for your portfolio, make sure you get a really clean scan first before you start digitally manipulating. Or obviously, if you even color on paper and are just scanning it for your portfolio, make sure you get a really nice clean scan. But that aside, there were just a couple of issues specific to this image that I wanted to talk about, just some handy things to keep in mind in general. Most of the time, let me create a new layer here. I'm using a really nice graphics program called ArtRage. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but it's a fantastic program, especially if you have a tablet or a tablet PC. Normally when you're sketching figures, it's really nice to create a pose that's dynamic and separates the limbs from the torso and from the other limbs, so that you have what's called really good read or a really clear silhouette, which in the case of a position something like this, it would be very easy to bring the arms out more so that you have more clear separation. And this is this arm is missing the forearm. It's ripped off. He's a zombie, which is cool. But in this case, because this is a zombie character, the sort of hanging straight down of the limbs, I think, is something Zaid was going for intentionally. So in this case, it's just a judgment call. Do you want to get this straight down hanging thing, or is it more important to have clear separation of the limbs? I'm going to hide this layer now, and I'm going to say if keeping that very vertical movement is something that you want to keep, that the very vertical hanging of the limbs. The only thing I would change is to cheat on this back limb at all, because it's really kind of a shame that the back arm is missing the forearm. It's so tight to the body, a lot of people at first glance are going to miss that fact. So that's one thing to consider, is maybe just angling out this, just as I did here, angling out this back arm a bit, just to get better read of, I can't draw in a area. Alright, just to get better read that that arm is indeed missing. But let me hide this layer. So that's one thing. The other thing, or the only thing of this drawing that really bothered me a little bit, is you want to avoid ambiguity. You don't want something to seem like it was a mistake in your drawing as opposed to something deliberate in your design. And if you look at this foot here, the back leg, the foot, it's on an odd angle, which works because he's a zombie and he could be stepping in an odd angle, but it's not odd enough to really look like it's intentional. It's not quite doing it. And to explain what I mean, I previously made this layer here, which shows the proper angle for the zombie's foot to be squarely planted on the ground. Alright? So that's basically how the foot would look if it were planted on the ground. And this is how it is now. So you can see it's slightly different. And it just looks a little off. It just looks like the perspective is wrong. This is how it would look in proper perspective if it were just normally planted firmly on the floor. And then this is how it would look if it were definitely skewed, if the zombie's ankle was definitely sort of buckling. If you're going for that sort of effect, make sure it's obvious and make sure it doesn't look like a mistake. In this case, now there's no way you know that this shoe is definitely not planted firmly on the ground. As you can see, I also very quickly on this layer did a couple of other things. I angled out that back arm so it was much harder to miss that it's missing the forearm. And the other important thing that I did, and really the kind of last thing for this sketch, is I increased the highlights on the front leg, and I increased the shadow, or I got rid of the highlights on the back leg. Because you can see if I remove this layer, because both legs go into a very strong, almost black shadow toward the crotch, and because the highlights are so strong on this back leg, at a glance it can almost be mistaken that this leg is the front leg and this leg is the back leg. So just making sure that the lighting is brighter on the front leg and the lighting is darker on the back leg, it just helps keep things very clear. And like I said, you really want to avoid things that look like either mistakes or cause visual confusion. So that's basically it. The artist in this case needs to make the judgment call what is supposed to be happening with the foot and make sure it is incredibly obvious. If something strange is going on with the foot, make sure it doesn't look like just an accident or a not very well executed drawing, and make sure it's very obviously one way or the other. And that's basically it for this one. It's a really nice sketch, otherwise great character. It's really interesting, but those few issues, if they were fixed, would really help a lot. And that's it for this one. Thanks.